Welcome to Wealth Made Simple with Shaz, where you'll learn how to master your money through business, property, and tax-saving strategies. Your host has collectively helped his clients make tens of millions of pounds in additional profits through these strategic approaches to business. Introducing Shaz Nawaz, an award-winning chartered accountant, property tax expert, entrepreneur, and property investor.
So, hot property tips for us this week.
I've got loads of them. First one, I think a lot of people want to get started in property. Generally tend to think about buying houses, and because that's just the way that they've seen things happen. And houses, again, I'm generalizing here because every area is different, but let's compare apples for apples. In any area, similar area, okay? So a suburb of an area.
Yep.
Rather than focusing on houses, focus on flats. Because generally speaking, flats are cheaper. Generally speaking, easier to rent, or you can rent them quicker, and they have a better return on investment. So they give you a better yield. So why? Let's talk about Peterborough. I haven't got the figures in front of me, but let's just make it an example. Let's say an average house here, 3-bedroom house is £300,000.
Yep.
You can buy a 1-bedroom flat in that particular area for around about, I'd say, 100 to 120, and you could buy a 2-bedroom flat from 120 to 150 or thereabouts.
Yeah,
so the house and the flats are in the same area. I'm talking about two different areas here, by the way.
Yeah.
And yet the rental income difference isn't that significant.
No.
So focus on, I'd say, flats to get onto the property ladder as opposed to houses. With that, as you know, we've talked about on previous episodes, is once you're up and running, you can then look at the commercial to residential conversion, where you're converting a commercial property into residential, as the name suggests, and you're creating flats.
Yep. Yeah. There's, alongside that, flats, and a lot of people do have a whole personal, I don't want flats. I don't want to live in a flat. Well, just remember, you're not the one living there.
No. And there's a need for it.
Yeah. And as take Peterborough, for example, as developments get brought in, as universities get built, as more shopping districts get built, it's more jobs.
As it becomes harder.
Yeah.
People just can't afford to rent. Some people can't afford to rent a 3-bedroom house. Therefore, they go into a 2-bedroom flat if there's 2 or more of them, and they go into a 1-bedroom flat if they're on their own, or into an HMO, depending on whatever their financial position is.
Yeah, and that's something that, everybody's got their own personal taste on, but when you're looking at investing in property or getting into property as a business, take your heart out of the game. Your heart has no place in business. It has a place in looking after people and making sure that people are doing well and making sure that it's affordable and all the rest of it. That's where your heart belongs. Your heart does not belong in business decisions for places where people will live.
Take out the emotion, yeah.
Because, I wouldn't live there, so I'm not going to buy it as an investment property. Oh, okay, but somebody will live there because it's on the market.
It works for them, yeah.
It works for them. Not everyone's the same. Everyone has different needs and requirements and, wishes. Not everyone is you. Not everyone is me. So accept that there are different people out there, different strokes for different folks. And if it's a sound investment piece, invest. Doesn't matter whether it's, ultimately, it doesn't matter whether it's a house or a flat. Flats, like you say, come in slightly cheaper per square foot for the investor with comparable rent. So your rental yield and that is higher.
But I think you also got to, Kieran, eat your own dog food. So if you're investing in areas where there's a low yield, the monthly rental is low, and you're targeting a particular type of demographic, then I don't think you should be snobbish about it. What you should do, I must say you, as in an investor should do, is get to know those people. Where do they shop? How do they think? Okay? How do they behave? what are they talking about? What are their challenges? Because renting a property isn't just about, and as people think, well, rent a property out, whether it's people who are actually investors or people who look at investors and possibly criticize them and say, oh, they're money grabbing, money making, so and so's. Okay, they just get a property and put it on rent and that's it. No, most people tend to get to know their tenants.
Yeah.
And if you've got no equity, relationship equity, no currency with them, then you're not going to get on too well with them, are you? Not understand them. Because when they say to you, I'm going through a challenge because something's gone wrong, and as you've said, then you've got a heart, you're going to support them. If you know them, then you'll be on the same wavelength as them.
Yeah, and it's a lot easier to support someone that you know rather than someone
Absolutely,
you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
most landlords, are, as you know, we come across a lot of them, are fantastic and they want to help.
Yeah.
Just look at COVID. A lot of people did. But you always get picked up on a minority, doesn't it? Who are the bad ones. But again, not going off topic.
But the squeaky wheel gets the most oil.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. That has different connotations, but we're going to stick to
property top tips.
Top tips. So number one. Number two, I think it's important to be patient. Patient when you're looking to buy a house or a flat or any type of property, as in it takes time. So don't make quick decisions just because you've been looking for a property for the last 72 hours. Okay?
Oh, but Shaz, I found one and I think it's great and I'm going to put an offer in tomorrow.
Well, do it today. Why wait till tomorrow? But is that the right thing to do? Have you weighed up all the pros and cons? Does it actually work for you? Is it within your budget? Is it in line with your strategy? Is it in line with your exit strategy? Is it in line with what you're looking to achieve?
Oh, Shaz, that sounds like a lot of paperwork. I mean, why would I want to do all of that?
Just get a cigarette packet and just get something on the back of that, Kieran. It's going to work fine for you, don't worry. Okay? Have some kind of a plan. Because if you don't have a plan, then, as you know, if you don't have your own plan, then you've got to live to other people's plans. And
failure to
bad news. Well, the bad news is, Kieran, they haven't got much planned for you and me. So we might as well have our own plan. And with that, once you've made the investment, again, be patient. Because property is a long-term investment. Unless you're a developer or you're buying and selling, which we've covered on other episodes, but you want to just take the long-term view on this. And sometimes people get fed up and say, just to sell it. And then in 10 years' time, say, I made such a big mistake. I sold that property on that particular street 10 years ago and now it's doubled in value. I should have held on to it. Well, there's not a lot you can do about it now. So I think just take your time buying. Once you've got it, sit on it. And unless you find a better investment, I'd say just take the long view on this. So being patient is extremely important.
I completely agree with you.
And most property investors tend not to be patient at the start.
And
but
I
it
mean,
helps.
To compound that, if you anything you do, you take a DIY job that you do in your own home. If you rush it,
yep,
it looks awful.
Absolutely.
If you take your time, do it properly, measure twice, cut once, etc., 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 suddenly you've got something that looks like it should do, rather than a mess stuck to a wall.
Yeah, absolutely. The third one is diversify. So don't put all your eggs in one basket and have different types of property in different areas. And again, we've covered this on other episodes in terms of student accommodation, in terms of 1-bedroom flats, 2-bedroom flats, houses, serviced accommodation. If you're into HMOs, I mean, you know my personal view on that, Kieran, but if you're into HMOs, if you're looking to do flips, the whole 9 yards here, and you can't do everything, but you can do some of them. I'd say diversify and also maybe look at different areas. Yeah,
and I mean, maybe next week we'll cover it once we've finished covering all your top tips.
I've got 20 tips, which I'm not going to cover all. I haven't got the time to do it today.
You have not got the time to do that today.
We'll make a start.
We'll make a start, and we'll do more next week. But after that, we'll maybe take a deeper dive into gold mine areas.
Yes, I think that's very important, and that's partly where you kind of start to some extent. And so, because I mean, if somebody had £1,000, generally speaking, and that's all the money they had, I wouldn't advise them to put all that on one particular stock or share. I'd say put it on 3 or 4. That's your
13 red.
The only money you got,
obviously.
But then big risk, big return, but might not always work out for you.
Well, I mean, it won't work out 99% of the time, I don't think.
But that's that there. So don't put all your eggs in one basket. Number 4, I'd say, look at ways to add value. It's the best way that you can make some good gains, both in terms of rental income, rental yield, return on any investment, and if you're looking to flip, obviously add that value and make a margin.
Yeah, I mean, adding value is often the quickest and usually the simplest way to get a higher return on your investment, especially
because you're doing more, aren't you?
Especially when flipping.
Thanks for listening to Wealth Made Simple. You can follow and contact Shaz on the Facebook pages Entrust Property Tax and The Profits Wizard. You can also find Shaz on LinkedIn, YouTube and Instagram. Alternatively, email him at shaz@aa-accountants.co.uk. Build your wealth by mastering money.